My question to my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, as an African American, as a black man, when can I protest? When can I speak out? When can I show frustration and anger? When I march, you condemn me. When I talk on the internet, you condemn me. When I say it on television, you condemn me. Anywhere in the public square where black people talk about this, it just basically say a simple affirmation that black lives matter, that our lives have value. We are constantly ridiculed and criticized. When is the appropriate time? I would think the fact that it was an African American named Crispus Attucks who was the first sacrifice in what was the start of the Revolutionary War, that in every single conflict this country has ever had, black people have fought in it and fought with honor and valor, only to come home to discrimination and subjugation and oppression. I would think if anyone had the right to speak out against the injustices of America, it is black folks, because they have shed blood, sweat, tears, and toil for it. I come from a people who have died for the simple right to vote, for the simple right to walk down the street, for the simple right to use the same bathroom as their white counterparts. I have seen young men such as Damon Grimes in my city who was killed for riding an ATV. This was a child with a 4.0 GPA. Everything he was, everything he was going to be, everyone he was going to touch, every life that he was going to have impact for was snuffed out. And for what? A civil infraction? Is that what little my life has to you as a black person? Don't I have value? Don't I have meaning? Don't you look at me and see a man that bleeds the same blood that you do? And you treat my children that way? You killed him. You murdered him. And there was no consequence. There was no trial. Nobody was brought to justice for that. I went to that funeral. I saw that mother crying. I held her in my arms. We are angry. We are incensed. These are our babies. These are our children. A job as a man, as a parent, is to make sure that your child makes it and becomes what he wants to be. That's why we're protesting. That's why we're fighting, because we believe in the American spirit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We're not protesting the flag. We thank God for the flag. Black folks have sacrificed for the flag. Hell, if it wasn't for black slavery, there wouldn't be a flag. You used us to build this country, and we didn't get any reparations for that. I'm still waiting for my 40 acres and a mule. And I know black folks who are upset about that, and they should be. We're not protesting the flag. We are using this opportunity because we know what the flag represents, which is freedom of speech. We know what the flag represents because we have sacrificed the most for America to be what it is, because it was built on our backs. So when we do this and when we're out here in these streets and we talk about Black Lives Matter, it's not to say that other lives don't. It's just so that you see us and you understand that we have value in all the things that we have accomplished as black people. The clock, the almanac, the baby buggy, the carbon filament in the light bulb, the telephone, the shoe lasting machine. All these things were built by black folks. The internet with Phil Wally. All the things that we've done, all the things that we contributed, all the things that we sacrificed for as patriots, as fellow Americans and brothers in arms. All we're saying is just look at us. Love us the same way that we love you and love this country. That's all we're saying. We just want value. We just want to be heard. We just want our children to be able to walk up and down the street and not have to worry about them being killed and them being shot and them being murdered. That's it. Just value our lives, because Black Lives Matter. Thank you, man.
Good morning, Apartheid, Michigan. I'm your host, Hassan Aline.
Co-host Carl Williams.
And that was Senator Coleman Young, soon to be Mayor Coleman Young,
Yes.
if you get out and vote. If we turn out like we should, then he will be Mayor Coleman Young II. That was a tremendous speech, electrifying. Wondering what happened to the brothers if they don't talk out on these issues that come up. They won't speak up like they scared or something.
Seemed like they was asleep. I don't know, couldn't talk.
But here's something in the paper today. It say no high court review of the emergency manager law, EM. Emergency manager law, where the Sixth Circuit Court of a U.S. Circuit, Sixth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals panel last year rejected the plaintiff argument, saying there's no fundamental right to select local officials by popular vote. Now, how long have we been telling them that they leave out the issues in the lawsuit?
Forever.
Emergency manager. They didn't cite the law.
Well, we know that without even start looking at it.
They didn't cite the fact that the emergency manager had a contract with gangster Governor Snyder. That's right. All of those emergency managers have a contract with the governor. Can't get a contract with the governor to run a city. They have elected officials. That wasn't never brought out. So how you gonna win when the double agents, those attorneys that you get for free that don't know what they talking about, the other side probably paid them off. They don't have to be paid off. They just think in their mind they're doing something for the great white father. I think it's amazing that we cite, what is that, Article 7, Section 22 of the Michigan Constitution, and it said that cities have a right to frame their charter. They have a right to that, so they have violated the city charter or the Michigan Constitution.
Yeah.
They never cite any violations of the Constitution.
That's where they always lose.
The governors, what the governor can do is limited by the Constitution. And in the past, he could have done all of that. He can't do it now. Well, and you'll say, well, that's not what the Supreme Court case. It says here, if you get the paper, today's paper, which one is this? The Detroit News, it says no high court review. They can refuse to review the case. So that means whatever the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals said. And those Republicans were definitely against the city of Detroit. They were all in Snyder's back pocket because it was all planned. You don't like to use the word conspire. Yeah, they conspired to the plan. It's a person. Those were persons on the court, not robots. How did we have a bankruptcy when the bankruptcy law says that elected officials from the legislative branch have to vote to bring the lawsuit to file the bankruptcy? No council person from the city of Detroit voted for bankruptcy. So how is it that we were in bankruptcy?
No, the mayor. The mayor didn't agree.
Well, but it doesn't say the mayor.
Well, I'm just saying.
It doesn't say the mayor.
He's the executive head of the city, and neither one, the legislature or the executive branch, agreed to that or even talked about it.
Well, the current mayor agreed to it.
Well,
He wasn't the mayor at the time.
He wasn't the mayor.
He wasn't the mayor at the time, but he was right there with Snyder. He was right there with Kevin Orr, the emergency manager, the bootlickers coming from the South, from Florida. Oh, yeah. And then a lot of the people, it's amazing, Carl, how folks who have their checks cut on the pensioner are going to vote for this mayor.
I just, you know,
It's mind-boggling.
yes, it most certainly
It's
is.
mind-boggling. Even with the tragedy that just happened out in Las Vegas, the first thing they have said over and over, one newscast after the next, each program, it don't make any difference whether it's CNN or MSNBC or whichever other the one station was that, they always say it was a lone gunman. It was a lone wolf. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you believe it because the white folks said it. Your man ain't told you nothing. Your man ain't said nothing to you.
Or the facts.
You know, well, he had all this. You know, he could shoot the bullet would shoot 100 rounds, and it would do this and it would do that. Now, you know, after so long, maybe 11 o'clock at night, the people between 9 and 11, the people started saying, well, he had to put those guns down. Why did he need so many? Because the guns got hot after so long, and he couldn't hold them. Wow. Or they didn't want to say the gun might have jammed, so he couldn't use that one anymore. Oh yeah, if a gun gets hot, they will jam on you. It's too hot for you to hold. Well, since you wasn't in the war, what would you know about it? So little things like that start coming up. But one of the most interesting things, Carl, was the fact that they only showed one window. Oh, this is the window that this man shot out of. This is the window this man shot out of. They said that for about 24 hours. Then all of a sudden, oh, he had two apartments, and he shot out of two windows. Really?
Was
Really?
it right next to each other? or
So
what?
this guy, 64 years old, was running back and forth, shooting out the window. He shot out of one window, then he went back and shot out of another window. Huh?
I don't think so.
It had to be more than one person.
That would make more sense to me.
Oh, they don't need any sense. They don't need any sense. All they do is say, well, they know, they said it. No, the man said it. You know, they say, oh, this is the ongoing investigation, and therefore we have no comments. We don't want to mess up with the facts. It's the ongoing investigation. Well, why you say it's irrefutable that there was only one gunman? You know, and it's something else, ladies and gentlemen. The lone wolf theory, this one gunman, only applies to America.
That's right.
In other places, they got 2 and 3 gunmen and people they looking for, bombers. If he was walking with somebody, say, see this guy in this picture? He was walking with somebody. But there were two brothers, wasn't it, in the Philadelphia bombing?
Yeah.
In Boston, rather, the Boston bombing, doing that Boston Marathon a few years past. Yeah, that's the only time. Everybody else is the lone wolf. So this guy has 19 guns, and you really believe this old fart can actually run back and forth, and you need to find out what he was eating and drinking and stuff. He was that healthy. Huh?
Yeah, we need to get some of what he was doing all that.
He had something, wasn't he? That he was jumping around. He was able to shoot all, just spray all down. But how did he come up with this? You know, all of a sudden he says, well, you know what? I want to kill a lot of people, and I want to go up. I need the height advantage. Where did he get it from? Watching television? I don't think so. Was it a movie where that was in? Now that happened before, 30 years ago or longer in Texas, when the guy went up in the bell tower down in Texas and he shot a few people.
Yeah.
I don't know how many got there. How many get, about 5 or 10 or something? I don't know how many people. I don't even remember, but it'll be in the paper. How? But I find it amazing that they come up with this baloney. So they've already got their mind made up. We talking about law enforcement. They don't want to be confused by the facts, and they want to tell us there's only one person, and this guy is Superman.
Well, see, if they say it's only one person, then they ain't got to look for nobody else.
Yeah. But they don't want to say, oh, see, then if it's more than one person, if at least 2 or more, it's a conspiracy. And then it's a group, and where they come from, and how many other folks are going to crawl out from under a rock and shoot all us good white folks, for no reason, because you went to a hillbilly concert, or what they call them? No, it wasn't hillbilly concert. Country music concert. Yeah, excuse me. And then, how is it that the Las Vegas police are the brightest anyway?
Who said they was the brightest?
Well, they the one claim they didn't solve the case already. They know it wasn't but one gunman. If there's only one gunman, then we not moving off those facts. The case is solved, isn't it?
Yeah, well, according to them.
Yeah, and then the guy, but look here, Carl. All of a sudden, one of the security guards was shot by the lone gunman. Now, if he killed himself in the room, how did he end up shooting the security guard? Did the security guard knock on the door and want to know what all that noise was going on? And why would it be just one? Or was the guy that shot and killed him making his getaway and he shot the security guard and kept going? Well, you know how it is, ladies and gentlemen. We ask too many questions around here on this show.
Yeah, you get everybody confused by putting them real facts out there.
Well, that's a fact.
Overlooked.
A security guard was killed. Who was he killed by? It's presumed by the news reporters that don't know what they're talking about that the man that took his life shot the security guard, the lone gunman. Well, maybe his partner that was leaving, the one that shot him, killed the security guard and kept going. Who knows? We ought to ask Lee Harvey Oswald, because he was the lone gunman.
Lone gunman, yeah.
In the Kennedy assassination. And when they killed him, to keep him from talking, he kept saying, oh, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I wasn't there. I haven't killed anybody. Somebody's framing me. I'm being framed.
Yeah.
That's what he said. The whole time they was,
huh? You never know now, though.
Yeah, well, we can still ask them, can't we?
Oh yeah, we still can look back and see what could have happened.
Well, right now,
based on all this information that's coming out after the fact.
But what about all the security tapes they have? Security, yeah, they got the cameras, so they have the tapes on what took place. They got to massage those tapes. They got to wipe some of that stuff clean. I bet it be some 13-minute gaps and 15-minute gaps. But they're not going to tell us about it. They're not going to tell us about it. Man, you know, that's what, $100 million lawsuit they facing.
Yeah, ooh, baby.
Mandalay. That hotel is facing some lawsuits. I wonder who they made mad.
I don't know, but
they made somebody mad.
They better go make friends with them.
Yeah. They said, go on over there and shoot some people out the window. Get in the window and shoot some people. And I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But I keep telling you it's a bad idea to go to those night conferences and concerts and protests. Now, y'all can say we don't know what we're talking about. They were at a night conference. They didn't even know where the bullets was coming from till it was over.
See that? See.
And then other people were saying, see, they won't give us the 911 tapes. They won't play that for the public. Where they said there was a shootout at the MGM. People were shooting up in MGM, and they were shooting up Caesars, and they were shooting this place up. Well, how was all that going on? Why was all this misdirection going on, sending the police different places? Why was it a 911 call to send the police different places? Because somebody wanted to get away. I can say, if you somewhere else, like the sound really carried all the way down to Caesars or somewhere, or it went to the Flamingo, or it went over there to, what was the other place? Well, it was 3 or 4. And one guy said, they interviewed this one guy, and he was saying how people were rushing out of the MGM. Him and his wife was going to hide over there, and they were running out saying somebody was in there shooting. And he said, well, the people were running out for some reason, and he had got a cab. He had flagged down a cab, and he would say, well, I'm going to go to MGM. And he saw all these people running out, and they was hollering about they in there shooting, or they said somebody in there with a gun. So he said, no, I'm not going in here. He went somewhere else. he made it back to the hotel he was staying in, and he said he packed his bag. He wasn't gonna spend the night. He wasn't staying there another hour. He packed his bag, him and his wife, suitcase, and they left. Both of them. I said, man, and he drove to Phoenix, Arizona. I'm saying, ain't that 2 or 3 hours drive in a cab? I guess. I guess his life was no. He rented a car. He went somewhere and rented a car. Yeah, he rented a car, and then the cab took him to the car rental place, and he took off, and he got a flight. Once he got to Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, he got a flight out of there to Texas somewhere, Houston, and he got back to Tennessee. Now that was a harrowing experience. But the things that people are saying, all of these are being doctored. We're not getting this. And they ought to do like they did in the Kennedy thing, say, Kennedy assassination. You know, they say, everybody with any information, turn in your cell phone. They're saying that now, telling the people to turn in their cell phone so we can get a composite, so we can get a timeline on what actually happened. No, so y'all can get rid of the evidence. So they can get rid of the evidence. Well, we got some callers early in the morning. I guess they want to get a theory on what's happening. Caller, I got the wrong one, didn't I?
Yeah,
Caller, thanks for holding. You're on.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I watched the segment on Coleman Young the second.
Okay.
I would like to say this. I'm not justifying the death of a lot of the young black men at the hands of a lot of the white police officers. I was raised by a young mother who had me at 16 who was a member of the Black Panthers. By the time I started elementary, there were things I was taught about not provoking the police. I've worked in the substance abuse and 501c3 sector with youth and teenagers and older adults for the last 12 years. Whenever these type of situations come up with police and young blacks, some that provoke the police and some who do not, it seems as if there are no parents or grandparents teaching the youth not to provoke police or anyone of law enforcement. The area where that young man got shot with that taser is a very high crime area.
Where is that?
There are Caucasians coming from the suburbs coming to get drugs, but the officers of our skin complexion continue to profile us. I wish and I want someone in politics who has the strength to discuss the facts about how are we going to deal with this illegal drug problem and be able to use it as a platform for campaigning. Because, sir, gentlemen, I'm out here every day. I'm a contractor, and I manage a barbershop. I'm able to see a lot that most working people that work in office buildings or plants don't see. I've watched these communities fall apart due to the fact that a lot of our parents and grandparents are not talking to children about not provoking police. And if it can't be done in the home, why hasn't a politician discussed this type of teaching and training be brought to our children in our schools?
Well, you got a good point there. Hello? Well, I guess he's off. Yeah, he hung up. He definitely has a good point and an excellent point, but one thing that happened, we fell for the Kool-Aid. We fell for that Dr. Spock stuff about don't discipline your children. And you know, Carl, folks believe that if you whip your child or it's some kind of physical abuse and they'll lock you up about it. No, there is no law against corporal punishment in the state of Michigan, meaning you can spank or whip your child. You just can't have all the marks and bruises on 'em like you was. How can I say it?
Trying to kill a kid or
Huh?
something.
Well, not well. Well, look, he brought up an excellent point, and it's like you can't beat him like he stole something, and why not? That is one of the problems that I have to agree with the young man that called. That as a community, not as individuals, but maybe some individuals, we don't know which one, but as a community, I would say the verdict is in, and we have dropped the ball. Dropped the ball as far as accepting our responsibilities
Yeah, that's a fact.
in raising our children. I would say after I was grown, I would ask my father some questions, and we'd sit down and have a discussion. Or I'd just say, well, why did I have to be the one to watch my brother? And why did I have to do this? And so the whippings, or I'll call them beatings, that I got when I look back, I said, well, there wasn't nothing wrong with that. No, I didn't like it. But and his reply to me was, he said, I didn't have time to keep talking and keep telling you something 2 and 3 times.
That's right.
He said, I didn't have time. I had to go to work. The job was hard out there at Chevrolet Gear and Axle. I'd be tired when I come home. So our parents in that generation, what you call the old school generation, people that you met later on in life when you were 30 or 40 years old, and you talk to them, especially the men, they were men then, and they had grown up, had some kids of their own, and across the board, it seemed like everybody was raised the same way. Even if you didn't know them. Even if you didn't know the person, growing up, you didn't know them. You didn't know their father. Maybe you never met their parents, let alone their father. But they would recite, or they would give you their story, or recite. You sit there and have a common thing about what their father told them. And that is significant about a father being in the house. Women think they can raise young men, but they can't. And some of them y'all do a tremendous job. Some of you do one heck of a tremendous job. But the verdict is in. The verdict is in. We need help with our young men. It's just that simple. And there's no need in trying to pass out any blame. We got to roll up our sleeves and get to work. If that's the grandparents, the old school, or whatever, that's your grandchild. That's your grandchildren. So you got a right to say something. And I know my father saying, well, he said, if your grandfather was alive now, the way things are, they would have gave him the electric chair for whipping a child. I say the electric chair. He said, hey, wait a minute. When he got through putting one of them beatings on you, you didn't do that anymore.
But see, you know what? People misunderstand some things. You got a whooping if you did something that you wasn't supposed to be doing.
Right.
It wasn't just an automatic whooping every time you do something. And one thing about it, just the thought of getting that whooping prevented you from doing a whole lot of things. I know
right.
there were many times we was out and, you'd be with your friends and they'd be talking about doing something or
Doing something crazy.
doing anything crazy. I get to thinking about, because my father, we had a razor strap in the kitchen. Now, he ain't never really used it, but just the threat. Yeah, you go out there, act up, and you want to. You see that strap over there? That's what you're gonna get.
Well,
That was in my mind.
that was enough, wasn't it?
That's right.
That was enough.
And people, and you're right. Once they start all this crap about You don't have to whoop kids. You could talk. You can do all this. That's when everything went rapid. Before then, it wasn't nowhere near as bad as it is now.
That's right.
I mean, you see, sometime I be out and you see two people talking, and you think the child is the parent. You know, there's no respect whatsoever. And then when I was growing up, we had to respect all adults.
That's right.
I mean, I didn't just get whipping by my mother and father. My older sisters and brothers would tear me up. You know, and like you said, it wasn't just your family, the people down the street. If they knew you and they saw you doing something, oh, they can they whip your butt and then take you home to your parents. And that's missing.
That's right. That was across the board, and so that's the conversation that folks need to have, even if it's in the church. I don't know what's wrong with them weak-kneed preachers. They ought to be preaching something. You talking about salvation, something that's gonna save somebody now rather than the hereafter. Let's take another call. Caller, you on the air? Hello,
morning.
caller.
Good morning.
Good morning. Go right ahead.
Oh, okay. Listen, I didn't call in the beginning of the show, so I don't know if you covered this, but all the news stations are saying this is the largest mass murder in the history of this country. And I'm wondering about, different incidents. Like the thing that came up to my mind was Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I go on the internet and I pull it up, and it says 39 people were officially counted as dead. That was the statistics, right? But
Right.
the American Red Cross said it estimated 300. That's a huge difference. But still, I'm thinking there's more people. Not only did they kill them, but they, destroyed the whole town. So I called Channel 7 News, and I asked them, why do they keep saying that this is the largest mass murder in the history of this country?
Of
So the guy
white
said,
people.
well, what else was it? I said, don't you do he said the national news is reporting that. I said, well, don't you guys do your own statistics? You're reporting this to the people. So my point is, why do they keep trying to brush off what happened, to our people? 300 people, the Red Cross said. And this is history for a lot of people are aware of it, I guess, but being in the news, you would think that they would know that, right?
Right.
So I called Channel, and I also sent a text to World News on Channel ABC World News, but they continue to report that. Largest ever in this country. That's all I wanted to say.
All right. Thank you for
Okay.
saying it here. Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, the caller is right on that point, because it is the largest killing of white folks in this country,
Big difference.
not black. And then if they reported the 300 or the 39 people that were massacred in Oklahoma, then that would make the white folks terrorists, wouldn't it?
That's right.
See, they didn't follow the law when nobody, they want to hide their hand. If they say they want to throw a rock and hide their hand, that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. They want to rewrite history. They want to just ignore their history. And then if you got to bring up the black folks, then they don't want to bring up all the massacre of the Indians, the original people that were here, that they killed. Thousands of them. They uncountable. And the more Indians you killed, they made you president. Stonewall Jackson or Jackson, he made him president, the Andrew Jackson, for being the great Indian killer. Massacring Indians. That's why they voted for him to be president. So when folks vote for Donald Trump because he's going to get rid of the immigrants, he's going to build a wall against the Mexicans, he's going to keep the blacks in his place. And you may say, well, he didn't say that. Yes, he did. He said he's going to Chicago. He says he's going to take the army to Chicago and going to bring it to Detroit. So, as the previous caller said, well, he made the statement on we need to act better or have our children acting better with law enforcement because they will kill you. Our parents and grandparents from the South knew that. And that's one thing they wanted to do is they wanted to raise young boys and even young girls to grow up to be young men or get a chance to be a young man. And you could not get that way being sassy to white folks. You know what they call it back then? Yeah. Oh, he sassed me, Sheriff. You ain't gonna lock him up. You ain't gonna shoot him. Why did you shoot that man? Because he sassed me. He didn't say, sir. Oh, black folks from the South are very polite. And if you don't know any, it's because they might be new here and they just got that Southern accents from their parents. They're very polite. And you know, that's why the white folks say they could tell one of our Negroes from those troublemakers from the North. It wasn't so much the accent, it's because when you're not used to saying yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, and no, sir, it makes a big difference in your relationship on a job, even getting employment. You come in there with an attitude, how you going to get hired? The man said, whoa, we're not going to have that in here. Let's take another caller. Caller, thanks for calling. You're on the air. Go right ahead.
Good morning, Brother Carl, Brother Hassan.
Good morning. What's going on, brother?
Excellent subject. You know, brothers, when I think about, you know, our father, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and some of us being critical, when you sit back and think about it, honorable Elijah Muhammad had a blueprint that was given to him from God, and you think about it, he started one of the first independent school systems where we was able to teach our children, separate the boys from the girls. You think about it, he had what they call the MGT GCC class, where he taught women how to be women, how to cook, how to sew, how to take care of a family, how to take care of a man. And you think about it, America was real angry with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad for something that wasn't threatening for us towards white people, but it was about a program that was actually cleaning us up, uniting us, pooling our resources, opening our own businesses, having our own newspaper, you know, just doing things independently and whatnot. I mean, you know, you think about it, understand, we even had courtship, you know, where we just couldn't run out in the street and just marry any woman or whatever. You know, we had laws that were set up and everything. And America was real angry with that, Brother Hassan, Brother Carl, you know. But now here we are in 2017, and now we're looking back saying, what's the problem? Well, all this been engineered, Brother Hassan, Brother Carl. This has been engineered by the very people that brought us fathers in this condition. And just like you were saying, Carl and Brother Hassan, I like the fact that you think outside of the box. And that is understand what happened out there in Vegas and whatnot. Ain't it strange that it happened right around the kneeling of the athletes and the NBA commissioner coming out threatening NBA players and whatnot that they, in other words, better stand during the flag. And you think about this, Carl and Hassan, 9/11. Some of us still believe, understand, that planes floating in buildings. And we never saw no plane parts at any of the places where these planes supposed to have crashed. Anybody know anything about jet fuel? Jet fuel only go a certain heat, and the steel that those buildings was made out of, there's no way those planes could have melted those buildings down. And all three buildings went down, and one of them wasn't even hit by a plane. And we believe that because the media, because the TV, everything we see, we are being programmed. You know, Master Prophet Muhammad told us before he left, he said that the devil would entertain us in our living rooms back in the 1930s. Well, he was talking about television. Yeah. Tell a lie. And we called up, Brother Hassan. We got to wake up, man. I'm glad y'all have a show, man. Y'all keep doing what y'all doing. Love to both of you brothers.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Caller, you're on the air. Go right ahead.
Yeah, well, I agree with your last caller. Whoever controls the media's mouthpiece controls many minds on how to think. The Detroit health director rejects the claim there's a public health crisis due to water shutoff. This is an outsider that comes in our city and goes along with the system to say that there is nothing going on with a public health crisis going due to mass water shutoff. Common sense would tell you, with people and children living with no water, how hazardous that's common sense. So, like he just said, the media's mouthpiece control many minds who don't research or think. Also, I was reading on Facebook about the Supreme Court. They're not entertaining nothing wrong with the EM, and I think you did mention that they don't think anything is wrong with the EM, the law for emergency managers to come in and take away the voters' rights. I'll hang up and listen to your comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for making it here. You know, ladies and gentlemen, we are confused on the voters' rights issue. You voted for something, but if it's a voter's right, then you have to find it in the Michigan Constitution. What they did was violate Article 7, Section 22 of the Michigan Constitution that gives cities the rights to frame their own charter. A charter that were heretofore, or what they say before, given by the state legislature. So the state legislature is not allowed to make city charters anymore. They're not allowed to make appointments anymore. This was never pointed out in their argument. They don't even know what I'm talking about.
No.
Lawyers don't even know what I'm talking about, and they don't want to know. That's the killing part. They got their head in the sand. Well, I went to law school. Yeah, you paid a lot of money for nothing.
You're doing nothing.
You know, look, the city charter is free. Somebody wanted to know, where do you get the city charter from? Your state representatives, your state senators.
No, he can get. They may be.
They
able to
free.
get
Well, no, they free.
downtown.
Well, you can
City
get.
clerk used to give them to you.
No, that was they gave. Well, I don't know if they gave you a city charter. I'm talking about the Michigan Constitution.
Okay,
What I do, I say a charter. Okay, but that's my mistake there. We talking about the Michigan Constitution. Now you get that from your state representative.
Free.
Free.
Yeah.
Free. I'm glad you corrected me on that. Free. And that's where we and how we're going to know what they're doing to us, what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. And most folks get in the office and don't know jack about what they're doing. They're just there, getting a job. And all you got to do is read it. That's why do you think they're shutting down the schools? All the schools in Michigan, they pick out the blacks to shut down. They don't care about them crazy white boys walking around here don't know nothing. Because the most they're going to be is a truck driver. That's where they got the educational system set at. And they're getting rid of the trucks. Well, how do you know they're getting rid of the trucks, driver? Because they telling you they got driverless trucks and cars.
Yeah, it's all in the paper.
They keep talking about the driverless car, but it's really the driverless trucks that they don't have to pay people to drive the trucks down the highway. How are they going to fund this bill? Well, through the infrastructure. They got this great design. We're going to put on this infrastructure. We're going to rebuild the highways. And therefore, we're going to get rid of your truck driving jobs. It's going to be a serious, serious depression, economic decline when you put 3 to 4 million people out of work. They're saying as high as 5 now, truck drivers.
Truck drivers, yeah.
That's making good money. These are the people without the college degrees, except some of the college degree people, engineers and folks, got them some truck driving jobs when they laid off the engineers. When General Motors laid off all those engineers, a lot of them went out and got a truck driving job. It was still $50,000, $70,000.
Still good money.
They had to survive. But for the folks that didn't graduate from high school, it's just with a high school diploma, that's a good job. Look at UPS. Look at all these UPS drivers. How many black UPS drivers do you see? I see some, but the majority of them are white. Now, I know the man's the white boy in there with a college degree, driving a UPS truck. I know our mind don't think about it. We don't think about the beer trucks, the Budweiser truck pulls up, or you see these trucks in the van line. What is that, the Atlas van line, Mayflower and all these people.
Yeah.
You don't see no white boy, a black in those. All you see is white. In Mayflower,
That's right.
in Atlas, all those furniture movers and stuff. And what about the trucks that brought in those GM cars? They go across the countries at the auto show. You know, also those jobs are now going by the wayside. That's right, they're going by the wayside because of this infrastructure bill. Well, come on now. They got to put the stuff in the road. They got to put the sense and the devices in the road. They're not going to have it on some little stick out on the side of the road. They could put them up there, but once you became aware that's what's putting you out of work, they're gonna tear them down, every one of them they see, right?
That's right.
So when they're gonna embed them in the concrete, you're not gonna know the difference. You're not gonna know what you're looking at. You're gonna think it's a reflector or something out there so you can see better at night. So we need to be jumping up and down about voting no on this infrastructure bill. You don't want it. Well, I think it's a good thing. You do? You don't think at all. Who told you? You didn't even know. You don't even know how they're doing it.
Don't know the consequences of it.
The only thing that's good about the infrastructure bill is to build the bridges, not the roads. You need to repair a lot of those bridges, not the roads. And why don't we hear anything from the Teamsters? Teamsters are right here in Detroit. We don't hear anything from Jimmy Hoffa,
Quiet
Jr.
mouth.
Y'all need to talk to him. Oh, I know the protests haven't started yet. You want to protest after it's over.
Oh, yeah, you play safe. Huh?
After how you playing safe and you know you're gonna lose your job? It's a difference when you don't know what it means. It's a difference when you don't know what it means, ladies and gentlemen. But I was in the paper the last week and I said, wow. I was talking to Carl. I said, man, do you see what we've been telling the folk for the last 3 or 4 months? It's finally in the newspaper. And they had a hearing, and how did it get there? Because they had a hearing in the Senate on the bill. So that's one of them they're going to try to pass, that they want to pass to put everybody out of work. And that's why I keep bringing up about the Depression. How the brewers, the people that actually made the whiskey, made the beer, were put out of work. That's what they did when they signed that, what amendment was that, 10th, 12th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. They get rid of the liquor. That was intentional. That's a government program. And then people say, oh, I'm not voting. We shouldn't vote. They just crazy. Don't even worry about them. People talk about don't vote. You better vote for somebody that's going to be on your side. And that's why we're saying we need to, Mike Duggan say, check his record. That's what he used to say. Is he saying that now?
No, he ain't
Is he saying that, check his record? And he going to run on his record? His record of what? Stealing all this money? Of all, jacking up the price of the house? Look, they've already proven that. He raised the price up, all that stuff about, the landfill, the dirt had to be clean with nothing but a lie to raise the price up for him and his buddies. And what about the Detroiters? What about the black contractors? There was over 30 black contractors when Coleman Young, the first mayor, was here. I call him Coleman Young the first. When he was mayor, over 30 black contractors in the house were being torn out. This man says, I don't want any black contractors. I got my own staff. I got these 3 people. And we have said that on this show many times because we were in a meeting, so-called community meeting. There were a lot of community people around there. Mrs. Henderson and Theo Broden, they had Carl and myself there. I didn't know why.
Rights lady,
Welfare rights. She was there. Richard Harrison, he was there at the station. Who else was there? Reverend Holly was there.
Holly.
Malik Shabazz was there. And I don't remember the Latino lady's name, but there's quite a few of them. They were there. They had some contractors there. And he gave his spiel. I'm talking about Mike Duggan gave his spiel when he got to be mayor, invited us down. We haven't been invited since then, have we?
Oh, no. Oh.
But he said he only was going to give the contract to his people. He didn't bat an eye. So he got to go out and get, that's why I call him Livonia Mike, because all the money's going to the suburbs, his buddies in the suburbs. Wow, how about that? Let's take a call. Caller, you on the air. Go right ahead.
I had a question and a comment. My question is, now we've got a 400-year history of they, you keep talking about they, and they keep doing the exact same thing. So my question to you is, if they recognize that their economy is contracting, excuse me, and they don't have or at least think they don't have the resources to spread out to their people and your people, then wouldn't a logical man want to hire and put in place his people? Wouldn't a logical man want to do that?
Well, that's what
There's
Mike
something
Duggan
wrong
is
with that?
doing. That's what Mike Duggan is doing. He's the mayor, and he's putting his people in over the people in the city. That's what he's doing. That's logical to him.
I was thinking
They've always
what
done
the
that.
brother was saying about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And it's ironic that Detroit is the poster child for failure on our part. And I think partly due to the fact that our grandparents did not listen to this man, even though he brought a program that would have solved every problem and ailment we seem to have. I mean, Malcolm X was in prison, and a lot of the other people that came were in prison. So there's your prison program, and look at what it produced, a Malcolm X. What are we producing now? You look at the family. We rejected the whole concept of separation of girls and boys and educating boys to be men and girls, depending on our own, experience and what we needed as a people. It seems that we instead began to focus on trying to civilize them rather than civilizing ourselves. So here we are in 2017, and Detroit is going down in terms of black rulership and significant participation. That's not going to happen. You're not coming back like that because we disobeyed the principles of evolution of a people. We have not evolved. We have not paid attention to what people do to evolve and progress themselves. Instead, we became focused on trying to fix the Caucasian. And you can't fix a man from his own nature. He's going to stay in his own nature. The only insane person is the one that goes outside of his nature and try to change the nature of another. That's what we've been doing.
Caller, we're down on time.
My question is,
we're down on time, and thanks for that.
how
Call
do
us
you-
earlier. Call us earlier, caller. You need to call us earlier. We appreciate the comments, but we're down on time. This is one of the fastest hours anyway. I don't know where the time goes. It flies when we get on here.
Every Tuesday.
Okay, so what would you like to say in closing, Carl?
That's all I got to say is we have talked about getting out to vote, and it's very crucial. This election is very crucial. And we will be talking about that a little bit more next week, so just tune in.
Okay, I'm your host, Hassan Aline.
Co-host Carl Williams.
And we'll be back next Tuesday. As always, 9 o'clock. Tell your friends, tune in, and we'll be there. Don't forget Burt's. We're going to be at Burt's this Wednesday.
The
For
4th.
Coleman Young. Coleman Young. Come on out. Come on out, meet, greet, have some fun, and rub some shoulders, and we'll be there. It's $20 fundraiser for Coleman Young. It ain't at Burt's. That's another day. That's going to be down at Steve's Soul Food. On, it's two of them together there. It's going to be at Steve's Soul Food. Well, we out.